Good afternoon. I pray that your Thursday was filled with spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness. Maybe you did something you haven't done for a long time, or maybe did something for the first time. Yesterday, I went for a walk in a place I've never walked before. It's actually sort of in my neighborhood, 20 minutes away. But I'd never been there. And what a joy when I got there. It was a beautiful park, new scenery, the views were fabulous. And so I kept thinking as I was walking, what a blessing to have this space so close to my home. It's like a hidden jewel. And I was very, very pleased that I was able to first have it recommended, and then I followed the recommendation and checked it out for myself. So I prayed that yesterday you had aha moments where you were pleasantly surprised, or that today you might have one. We've been talking about toxic relationships, and if you made the decision to work on the relationship for right now, if you want to see if it could be saved, we've been talking about some things you can do. And so we've talked about don't dwell on the past. Don't bring up past stuff that you've already supposedly resolved. You need to resolve it in the moment. Excuse me, one thing with my computer. The second thing we talked about was view your partner with compassion, to try to be understanding. It doesn't mean you have to tolerate all their stuff, but at least understand where it comes from. At least understand they didn't just come into this earth being mean or whatever it is that they're doing to you that makes your relationship toxic, but just trying to understand, and then you can make your best decision with all the information. You can decide, is this something that I want to deal with, or is it something that, I'm choosing not to, but at least I understand where this comes from. And today I'm going to combine two. It says start therapy and find support. And so an openness to therapy can be a good sign that things are mendable. An openness to therapy can be a good sign, but can you go to therapy with both partners not necessarily willing? Sure you can. And maybe when they get there, they begin to change their mind. They may not be willing because of cultural concerns, that we don't do that. We don't tell people our business. Maybe they have a very skewed view of what therapy actually is, which is based on what they see on TV, laying on the couch, and the therapist not saying anything and them just free-floating, associating. But maybe once they get there, they realize that the environment is not as scary as what they thought. They realize that this person, this therapist, this counselor is going to be a non-biased listener who will help to guide the two of you, or if it's family therapy, all of you, to a place of better healing. But the importance is an openness that once you started, that possibly this could be helpful. Again, they don't have to be open to when they get to the first visit. We're going to trust that the process will engage them and draw them in. This thing also says, while couples counseling is a good starting point, individual counseling can be a helpful addition. And so what I have found in my practice is that sometimes couples are not ready for couples counseling. Sometimes one or both of the individuals, the partners, the spouses, have enough individual stuff, have enough long-term baggage that we need to unpack some of that baggage first. And that unpacking may need to be done in an individual session so that the partner does not have to sit and listen, but also so that the individual can feel safe in revealing things they may have never revealed before. For a lot of people, they may do individual counseling and, couples counseling, or individual and family counseling at the same time. And that can hold a space for some people that can be quite relevant. Again, if you are in a toxic relationship and you want to see if it can work, one of the options may be to look at some individual counseling for either one or both of you. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is find support. Support does not have to be in therapy. It does not have to be in counseling. Support could be talking to close friends or joining a local support group. A lot of times when couples are having problems, the individuals will talk to their friends who are having problems in their relationship too. It's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And so, and not that your friends may not necessarily have lessons they can share with you, they may have insight they can share with you. It's always good if you're having a couples problem to talk to a couple who you believe have gone through challenges, who are healthy, who are more balanced. You want to talk to a couple who appear to actually like each other and appear to be putting in the work to make their relationship work. If you're having family issues, you may want to speak to someone who demonstrates how they were able to negotiate the different challenges that come up in family life. I need to tell you, when I was raising my kids, particularly during the teenage years, a lot of times I would reference and talk to friends who unapologetically and openly discuss the challenges they were having with their teens. But in the discussion, it wasn't just venting. They were also sharing how they resolved those things, how they were able to persevere. And so in their sharing, it gave me hope. In their sharing, it gave me a vision that this too shall pass. Because adolescence can be a challenge. Hormones are changing, the task of becoming mature, the impulsivity that comes. And typically, a lot of times we say our teenagers lost their mind during their teen years. But guess what? If we are diligent, if we are willing to work with the young teen, or if we're willing to make adjustments, or if we're willing to engage in open conversation, things will get better. And that's why it's important, when you are getting support, to get support from people who are able to share with you how to come to a place of balance, to get support from people who are able to give you a sense of hope, and not just saying, girl, if I was you, I wouldn't put up with that. Child, you better than me because I did X, Y, and Z. A lot of times those people are giving you their opinions of what they would have did or would do. And if push came to shove, they're not going to actually do any of those things. Sometimes it's easier to project, what I would do. But when it comes down to it, you never know what you would do until you're there. And that's why it's good to get support from people who may have been there and can honestly share what worked for them and what was maybe not so helpful. To get support from people who are actively committed to healing and not committed to staying in dysfunction. Okay, you've made the decision at this point that you want to see if this relationship is worth saving. So I would invite you to do that from a focus on, do you really want it to be saved? What is your motivation for doing this? Because if you want something bad enough, you're willing to put in the work. But if you're kind of ambivalent, you're not sure, then of course you can tentatively come into it, because it takes time, it takes patience, but you can always go back to your bottom line. I want this to work. For some couples, their bottom line is divorce is not an option. Okay, when I committed and said I do, I committed for life. I committed to work through these struggles. For some people with children, it's like, I'm not putting my child out. I'm not going to put my child in the hospital. I am committed to working with this little individual, to working with my offspring, the one who has my DNA in them. I'm willing to work through so we can come out of this healthier. Now, coming out healthy and working through may mean that you may have to make some changes in your own behavior. It may mean that you may have to make some changes in how you look at things. It may mean that you may have to become more of a listener, more of an understander, maybe be less impulsive, maybe not go off as quickly. Maybe you may need to investigate different ways to achieve whatever the goal is. You know, that's really, really up to you. But it's important, if your decision is you want this thing to work, then what are you willing to do? How much are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? How much are you willing to explore something that maybe sound very foreign to you, but other people have tried it and they've been successful? I invite you to consider those things and to consider it on purpose. Only you know if your relationship is worth saving. I don't know that for you. I can't make that decision for you. And maybe you don't even know yourself. Maybe you're trying to determine that. But I invite you to give it a good try if that's what you choose to do, remembering you cannot change it on your own. The other person has to be equally invested in wanting a healthier relationship and equally invested in putting in the time and the energy that it takes. But if that's what you want, I'm here for you. I support you in your decision. If you found out as we've been talking about this, you know what? I've given it my best shot and this is not for me, then I commend you also. Again, these are all very personal decisions. And I trust that if you continue to do self-examination, relationship examination, be honest with yourself, be transparent with yourself, be open to hearing, about yourself, not just from your partner or your loved one's perspective, but maybe by your best girlfriend or your bro who you've given permission to kind of tell you what you need to hear. But most importantly, it's you being open to this change that you say that you want, and to be open on purpose. I will have more information out about our book club, which will be starting September the 9th, I believe, which is the Wednesday after Labor Day. I look forward to it. If you want to participate, you can purchase the book. The link is in the description. Love you all, and I will talk with you on Monday. I take the weekends off for rest and rejuvenation. I encourage you to make this weekend the best weekend you ever had in whichever way you define that. Love you all. Bye-bye.